If you can make 20%, I'd say that's exceptional. And many of the greatest investors worldwide have had a track record of making 20% a year. But 135% a year is totally unprecedented. I'd like to talk to you today about Bitcoin. Now, this is a subject which divides opinion. It's a bit like Marmite, you know, some people love it and other people hate it. There's no in between. It's exactly the same with Bitcoin. I've come across people who are pathologically opposed to Bitcoin, including great investors in history, you know, like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, one of whom once described Bitcoin as rat poison. You know, that's a pretty strong view from these people in the 90s. I'm not convinced it's such a bad thing, but I do realise the pricing of it is very volatile. You know, there's been years when Bitcoin has fallen in value by as much as 80%, for example. But equally, it's gone up more than that in the other direction. I did some research recently and I discovered that in the last 15 years, the average compound growth rate of Bitcoin has been 135%. I kid you not. If you can make 10% a year from any asset class, including shares, property, bonds, etc., you're doing really well. If you can make 20%, I'd say that's exceptional. And many of the greatest investors worldwide have had a track record of making 20% a year. But 135% a year is totally unprecedented, I can tell you that. And even in the last 5 years alone, Bitcoin's up over 400%. It's just remarkable. So because it's quite volatile and it's not for the faint-hearted, you've got to have a strong constitution for this, because unless you're prepared to accept the price can rise and fall quite dramatically and that you have to be patient, then it's not really for you. But if you can accept this great volatility, then I think most people should consider at least investing maybe up to 5% of their investable capital, which is free capital you have to invest in a coin like Bitcoin. There are many cryptocurrencies out there as well, but Bitcoin to the crypto world is a bit like the US dollar to currencies worldwide. It's just got that strength, and because it's quite unique, because only a limited amount of Bitcoin's ever been issued, 22 million Bitcoin have been issued, then there's a limit to it. And it's not like the US dollar, you can keep printing more and more of the stuff, which eventually over time has got to devalue it. It's not the same with Bitcoin. It's quite different to the other cryptocurrencies. So I do think it's got advantages and disadvantages. A lot of people don't think it's a real investment, but it can be a real valuable asset to have if you're in a third world country that's got a weak currency, for example. I think it's Ecuador. They've adopted it as their currency now, Bitcoin, rather than their own currency. Because the problem is most of these currencies devalue a lot if you're not in the developed world. But even in the developed world, you can still have weaknesses with your currency. I was in Turkey recently, and the interest rate in Turkey at the moment is 50%. Inflation's around about the same officially, but the Turks I spoke to told me that unofficially the true inflation rate is more like 100%. And that's not even an underdeveloped country. Can you imagine what it's like in some of these African countries, for example? Or some of these South American countries? Some of these countries, their only lifesaver is something like Bitcoin. Now, I've got a very interesting book I've come across recently, Bitcoin by Dominic Frisby. Admittedly, it was written 10 years ago, so you could argue it's a bit out of date, but a lot of the stuff Dominic wrote about then is still relevant today. There's a big section on Satoshi Nakamoto, the alleged of Bitcoin. It's a mystery. No one's ever found him. He just disappeared. We don't know if he actually existed. But Dominic's written a big section on that, for example, in this book. It makes it quite interesting. So it's considered that if you are concerned about the devaluation of currencies, then really Bitcoin should form at least part of your overall strategy, but only do it if you're prepared to accept the high-risk nature of it. So follow the links below. Do share with your friends. Remember, this is just a personal opinion. It's not advice. You may need to take professional regulated advice on some of the topics we've talked about today. By all means, give me your feedback, give me your comments, tell me what you'd like me to talk to you about, and I'm sure I can help you as much as I can. Thank you for watching this video.